Good morning. My name is Sam. I am an alcoholic and I'm also a son of recovery. Let's start out with the serenity prayer. Good and gracious God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. So, I'm rereading this book called Recovery Dharma. It is how to use Buddhist practices and principles to heal the suffering of addiction. Now, while I am a huge proponent of AA and 12-step programs, I love finding out other ways that we can kind of incorporate into my um, my practices of the 12 steps, but also connecting with my higher power. Yes, my higher power is Jesus Christ and God, but I'm very open to learning new ways that I can incorporate in getting in touch with my higher power. So I and a friend of mine went through a recovery program that was heavily used this, and it was really good for him. So, AA always says that if there's another way for you, great. But they know that this works for them. So, also like to bring stuff out there that may help other people along their journey. So, I'm going to be reading this. So, we are going to start out with what is Recovery Dharma? The word Dharma doesn't have a single English meaning. It's a word in an ancient language called Sanskrit, and it can be translated as truth, phenomena, or the nature of things. When it's capitalized, the word Dharma usually means the teachings of the Buddha and the practices based on those teachings. The Buddha knew that all human beings, to one degree or another, struggle with craving, the powerful, sometimes blinding desire to change our thoughts, feelings, and circumstances. Those of us who experience addiction have been more driven to use substances or behaviors to do this, but the underlying craving is the same. Even though the Buddha didn't talk specifically about addiction, he understood the obsessive nature of the human mind. He understood our attachment to pleasure and aversion to pain. He understood the extreme lengths we can sometimes go to, chasing what we want to feel and running away from the feelings we fear. And he found a solution. This book describes a way to free ourselves from the suffering of addiction using Buddhist practices and principles. This program leads to recovery from addiction to substances like alcohol and drugs, and also from what we refer to as process addictions. We can also become addicted to sex, gambling, technology, work, codependence, shopping, food, media, self-harm, lying, stealing, obsessive worrying. This is a path to freedom from any repetitive and habitual behavior that causes suffering. Many of us who have found our way here might be new to Buddhism. There are unfamiliar words, concepts, and ways of looking at the world. It can be intimidating and uncomfortable to sit in a meeting with people throwing around words like karma, dharma, sangha, and Buddha. If you have felt this way, you're not alone. The purpose of this book is to lay out our path and practice in a clear and simple way that can be of use to people who are brand new to recovery and to Buddhism, as well as those with some experience. It describes the original Buddhist teachings to show where our program comes from. It introduces the essence of Buddhism's basic teachings, the Four Noble Truths, in a way that shows how practicing the Eightfold Path is a pragmatic toolkit for dealing with the challenges of both early and long-term recovery. This is a renunciation-based program. Regardless of the type of addiction we identify with, all of our members commit to a basic abstinence from the substance or behavior of our addiction. For those of us whose addictions involve things like food and technology, from which complete abstinence may not be possible, renunciation will mean something different, based on thoughtful boundaries and intentions in our behaviors. For some of us, abstinence from things like obsessive sexual behavior or compulsively seeking out love in relationships may be necessary as we work to understand and find meaningful boundaries. Many of us have found that our renouncing our primary addiction for a period of time, other harmful behaviors and process addictions become apparent in our lives. But rather than getting discouraged, we found that we can also meet these behaviors with compassion and patience and patient investigation. We believe recovery is a lifelong holistic process of peeling back layers of habits and conditioned behaviors to find our own, sometimes hidden, potential for awakening. Our program is peer-led. We don't follow any one teacher or leader. We support each other as partners walking the path of recovery together. This is not a program based in dogma or religion, but in finding the truth for ourselves. This is wisdom that has worked for us, but it is not the only path. It's fully compatible with other spiritual paths and programs of recovery. We know from our own experience that true recovery is only possible with the intention of radical honesty, understanding, awareness, and integrity, and we trust you to discover your own path. We believe this program can help you do just that. Ours is a program that asks us to never stop growing. It asks us to own our choices and be responsible for our own healing. It's based on kindness, generosity, forgiveness, and deep compassion. We do not rely on tools of shame and fear as motivation. We know these haven't worked in our own individual pasts and have often created more struggle and suffering through relapse and discouragement. The courage it takes to recover from addiction is ultimately courage of the heart, and we aim to support each other as we commit to this brave work. Many of us have spent our lives beating ourselves up. In this program, we renounce violence and doing harm, including the harm and violence we do to ourselves. We believe in the healing power of forgiveness. We put our trust in our own potential to awaken and recover in the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha, and in the people we meet and connect with in meetings and throughout our journey in recovery. The truth is that we can never truly escape the circumstances and conditions that are part of the human condition. We've tried that already, through drugs and alcohol, through sex and codependence, through gambling and technology, through work and shopping, through food, or the restriction of food, through obsession and the futile attempts to control our experiences and feelings. And we're here because we realize it didn't work. This is a program that asks us to recognize and accept that some pain and disappointment will always be present, to investigate the unskillful ways we have dealt with that pain in the past, and to develop a habit of understanding, compassion, and mercy toward our own pain, the pain of others, and the pain we've caused others due to our ignorance and confusion. That acceptance is what brings freedom from the suffering that made our pain unbearable. This book is only an introduction to a path that can bring liberation and freedom from the cycle of suffering created by addiction. The intention and the hope is that every person on the path will be empowered to make it their own. May you be happy, may you be at ease, and may you be free from suffering. So, that was what is Dharma recovery. And there are many things in this that I see that echoes AA programs. The peer-led aspect of it, the mentoring aspect of things, is very similar to having a sponsor, a peer, a friend who is there to help and guide you, who may have a little bit more experience than you. And that is awesome. Coming in with the kindness, the generosity, the forgiveness, the deep compassion, those are all things that I felt when I first started in AA. And I found that the whole renunciation-based program that it talks about, renouncing what you're doing or what you're using, I found this similar to the only requirement is the desire to stop drinking. You don't have to have stopped drinking. You just have to have the desire to stop drinking, and AA is fully welcoming. I've spent many meetings with people there who were drunk, definitely, but they were there, So I found that this way too. Many of us have found that after renouncing our primary addiction for a period of time, other harmful behaviors and process addictions became apparent in our lives, inch by inch. And that's what we found. At least that's what I found, especially going through, my defects of character, finding other things that come out, and that it is a lifelong thing. Working on ourselves, developing ourselves, being honest with ourselves. It is a lifelong practice, as this even talks about. That's why. That's why I go through the big book every year. That's why I have friends who do 12-step workshops every year. Uh, to just examine like what's going on in our lives again because we're a little older. Um, so so yeah. So that is what is Dharma recovery, and tomorrow we'll go on to where to begin. So I'm gonna read a prayer. Prayer called Quiet Day. This is another day, O Lord. I don't know what it will bring, for I have not scheduled anything. If I am to sit still, help me to sit quietly. If I am to rest, help me to rest patiently. If I am to do nothing, help me to do it sincerely. For it is your will for me to be comfortably quiet. So with that, as always, if you have any comments, questions, or thoughts, please leave them. And I hope you have a blessed day.